So, I'm doing a video on experiments that I did over the summer this year in my garden. And this is the first one. And if you missed that video, this experiment was that I wanted to find something to put into the bottom of the pots that wasn't real heavy. I have tons of rocks, but I was afraid of putting big heavy rocks in these clay pots. So after looking around, it dawned on me that the one thing I have a whole bunch of is pine cones, because I have a couple pine trees, and trust me, they put out the pine cones. So this pot, the bottom half was filled with pine cones, and then I used a good quality potting soil there and grew celery in this pot, and it did awesome. But you're going to get to witness what I witnessed when we dump it out and see what that pine cones and potting soil looks like. So let's turn this over and see what we get. That's quite a root ball there. Can you see that all right? Man, that's let me get that a little closer for you. Look at that root ball. Wow. There you go. And see, there's the pine cones. So they don't look any worse for wear. Unfortunately, I didn't get any free pine trees out of it, but it sure saved me a lot of soil. That's quite the root ball there. That's from celery. So this, I believe, will be a success, a major success. From now on, I'll be filling up the bottom of at least my clay pots with the pine cones. I see no adverse effects. I can say this much: celery must like it. So let's go on to the next experiment. Okay, my next experiment that I tried was in building my own tomato cage. I don't know how well you can see what happened to it. It's had a few of the things come untied. I think the wood wasn't 100% dry, as it shrunk a little more. It was just enough for the jute to come loose. Even some of my braces fell out and what have you, but it made the season. I mean, the season's over for these tomatoes. But I'll do this again if I get bored. Maybe another pandemic and I got to stay home. Yeah, but yeah. I'm pleased with it. It saved me having to buy another one by building my own. And it's just tied together. If you missed the video, I just tied sticks with jute. And I had to screw them at the base under the wood of the bed. But it held up pretty decent. It's a little floppy by now, the end of the season, which is kind of I would expect. But, yep, I'll do that again, I think. So let's go on to the next experiment. Okay, my next experiment is the black plastic. And in a climate here where our overnight lows, we never really get above 60. Most of our overnight lows through the growing season will be upper 40s and low 50s. This is a godsend as far as warming up my ground and keeping it warm. Also for stopping the growth of the grass and all of that stuff I battle. I've done other videos on it and showed how pleased I was here. This was my cucumbers that the hail took out, but this bed was real bad with grass, kind of like this bed. It was just packed full of grass. Now next year this will get black plastic. This was a new bed this year. Next year I'll put black plastic down over it. I believe tomatoes are going in there, and we won't hardly have any grass. So the black plastic, and this is not the cheap Walmart black plastic. This is the black plastic you order online as a weed barrier. And it's a little bit more expensive, well, quite a bit more expensive, I think, than what Walmart gets. What do they get, $5 for a tube? This was $50 for, I think it was 100 feet by 5 feet. Because most of my beds are 4 foot wide, I could just cut the length and put them on there. You notice I also picked the beds up, stuck the plastic underneath it, put the wood back down so that the grass couldn't come up in between it, and that's worked out really good. So anyhow, I would call that a major success. And I believe I have, let me see what other experiments I have. I'll be right back. Okay, and my last experiment here is my Oyas. And if you watch the earlier video, they're just ceramic pots, the clay pots you buy, buried in the ground there. And this is the only watering that these plants have gotten in this bed. And this is what I got. Now you would think, well, that's not much, but quite frankly, 6 weeks ago I got hit by hail, and it pretty much wiped out most all of these plants. And to get these in 6 weeks, for these plants to recover and put flowers on and produce fruit, to me was amazing. But anyhow, the real question is do they work? Of course you can see they work, but let me show you how they work. If you look down in there, I don't know how much of that you can see, but that's roots, solid roots from these plants here. See, here's where the plant goes in the ground, and the roots just go around that. This thing constantly seeps water, and so the roots get around that, and they grab onto that. You can see more roots here, and they that's the only water they get, but they get a constant light watering as long as you keep these things filled up. Now when you use these pots, you have to plug the inside so that the water doesn't just go down the hole. And I used you want to use a good grade caulking, and I used a cork, whatever you can get. I've seen some people glue the top to this piece like this and then water through this hole. And that's an option. I didn't want that small a hole. There's some other YouTube videos about them. They're called Oyas. They're spelled O-L-L-A. The double L makes a U sound. But I will use this again next year. I'm thrilled with it. Those things don't go through a couple of cups of water a day is all. And when you live in an arid climate, that's a great thing. So this is probably my best experiment for this year. And I'm looking at revamping a lot of my garden to utilize this system in other areas. I'm just so pleased at how well. I mean, these plants ain't been watered other than rain. Yeah, we get a rain, it's like 1/10 of an inch. And maybe, you know, we're lucky to see it once a week during our monsoon season, and never any other time of year. Yeah, we get good snow, but it's a little late for this. Anyhow, that's my that's the updates on all of my experiments. And now I'm going to do up the tallies of my how much total produce weight I brought in, and that'll be the next thing on this video to wrap up my Shedwars video last weekend of September. Be back in a minute. So this is my gardening book. Got all my notes for my different plants and what have you. Of course, back here is last year's. I want to keep the tags from any perennials I plant. Anyhow, here is my totals from this year. I just got to add them all up together. So we'll do that and we'll be back. Okay, so that's 87 pounds from the previous page. All of these. Okay, and I have 87 here. Plus 0.5 plus 5 plus 0.375 plus 2.5 plus 2.5 plus 35 plus 76. Now I have a grand total of 208 pounds and 7/8. 208.8 875, which is 7/8 to layman. So 208 pounds, 208, so almost 209 pounds for my total for the year. This includes the 76 pounds in eggs. Figuring I have 9 chickens, I get 4 a day on average. I calculated that there was 21 weeks and 5 days, and it come up to 76 pounds. Summer squash, I estimated that also at a ½ pound a piece, and I just kept track of how many I picked. I picked 35 this year. That gave me, I'm sorry, I picked 70 squash, and it came up to 35 pounds. So that's pretty impressive. Anyhow, I don't see any, I mean, like, we have 16 pounds in lettuce. We just had tons of it in the spring, showing it with our daughter and everything. Chard, Swiss chard, we eat a lot of Swiss chard, 13 pounds of that. Tomatoes, one of the biggies, 22 pounds of tomatoes, 9 pounds of onions. Very, very good year. If I had to estimate prior to this starting this, I would probably say, oh, maybe 100 pounds if that. So I'm really impressed that I actually grew that much. Now, keep me keeping track next year just to see what I do next year comparison wise. Anyhow, that's it for this final Shedwars video of September. By the rules, I believe I have to put in 2 more videos in October, but that's fine. I mean, my season's coming to an end, but then you could see how I'm gonna put my beds to bed for the winter, and I have perennials and stuff, so I'm sure I'll have plenty. We've also been taking some other videos that we'll be highlighting. So all I can say for now is God bless, and may the Lord be with you. Bye-bye.